Did you read Warrior Cats?
No, I did not.
No.
Oh.
I'm sitting here thinking of cutting this part out.
That's fine. That's fine.
Welcome to Recapping Romantasy, hot takes on hot literature. Who are we?
We are me, Emma.
I am Tabitha.
And I am Maura.
All right, so Iron Flame, or as I call it, Fifth Wing, came out about 6 months after Fourth Wing, took the world by storm, and that is the book we are talking about today. And I don't know much about publishing, but it seems like that's a pretty quick turnaround to me. And I don't know, maybe she had all the parts like written or mapped out before Fourth Wing was released, but again, that seems like a really quick timeline, and I know you guys know more about publishing than me, so tell me if that's true or not.
No, you're absolutely 100% correct. That is a really quick turnaround time. I don't know the actual process that went down here between Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, but yes, this is very fast, to the point of an anomaly in the publishing industry. Sequels usually take about a year to produce. That said, the industry is changing because of book talk. It's all about striking while the iron is hot now. So when Fourth Wing hit big and she was busy like ensuring that the sequel could capitalize on that momentum. Normally it takes 2 years from purchase of a book to the release of a book, and this includes a long production period where the book is sent out for blurbs and is made into a tangible object. And that includes like cover art and typesetting, and like arcs get sent out, and printing and warehousing, and all these things have to happen with a physical book.
Jeez.
And during this time, the author is mostly in the marketing mode, or already working on the sequel. And there might also be like last minute tweaks on the manuscript based on feedback from the author. Authors who read for blurbs and early reviewers. In Fourth Wing's case, to have the sequel ready so quickly would have to mean it was already in production stage when the first book was finished, meaning the sequel was probably already mostly complete by the time Fourth Wing was published.
Oh, okay. Well, it might take a while to get Sixth Wing, because Rebecca Yarros has said that she's going to take things slower and respect the limitations of her body, because she, like Violet, also has EDS, or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Something like that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, I mean, and I saw her promoting Iron Flame like right after Fourth Wing came out. And while she was promoting Fifth Wing Iron Flame, she received some backlash for not pronouncing the Gallic names of the characters and places correctly. Did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was like kind of a big moment on Book Talk. So she even pronounced the word Gallic wrong. So there's Scottish Gallic, and then there's Irish Gaelic. And Yarros got schooled by Scottish TikTokers, and rightfully so. She said that she now has a tutor that will help her learn how to pronounce her own characters' names correctly. And I think that's like just a teeny bit ridiculous, because maybe it's me. I would be so embarrassed to pronounce the names of my own characters incorrectly. I mean, if you're using another language's words, I don't know, learn how to pronounce them when you're saying them out loud.
Yeah.
Maybe she just wasn't a child. I don't know how old she is, but as a child of the internet, I feel like
Yes.
the internet will be on you the second you make a mistake.
Well, I think it's good practice just to have a knowledge base of the actual words that you're putting into your book. So then you can sound, intelligent when you're talking to other people about them.
I mean, we live in a world where people get tattoos in languages that they don't speak or understand, and that's something that they're putting on their own human body.
Yeah, like Ariana Grande's barbecue words.
Oh, I didn't know does she have like Asian script?
Yeah, she does.
Oh, she would.
When I can't believe you don't know this. When Seven Rings came out, she got Seven Rings tattooed on her hand, and I think it was in Japanese kanji. And kanji works the same as Chinese characters, but in the sense that like one symbol can mean multiple words, and depending on how you put them together depends on how they come out. So she thought she was using the word for seven and then the word for rings, but those two kanji together meant like barbecue or something.
Sounds right. Sounds about right.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, listen. Look, I get how irritating this is.
Yeah.
But, like, if you think about, like, going back through what other people have done, like, Leigh Bardugo named a whole series, the Grishaverse.
Yeah.
That series has a heavy Russian influence in the world building. And Grisha is Russian for Greg. So, like, it's basically Greg-verse. Yeah. I mean, so stupider things have happened in the world, I have to say.
That is true.
I remember I looked up the Russian word for, like, witch or magic or something, and it was a perfectly serviceable word. She could have just used that word, not
she could
Greg.
have not used Greg, yeah.
Greg.
But no, here we are. Greg-verse.
Greg-verse.
Anyway, so basically Yarros isn't the only one who's done this.
No, she's not, but she's just the latest person. So on top of the Gaelic gaff, the actual release of the Fifth Wing like physical book was rough. So seemingly, according to TikTok, there was lots of misprints, but in a release statement by the publisher, they said that there was actually limited misprints. That's with heavy hand quotes. All that matters is that
it's limited. We did it on purpose.
Yeah.
You're special if your book doesn't make any fucking sense.
They're probably like, listen, those books are worth $200 resale.
Yeah, if you would just resell them. Yeah. Oh my God. But all that matters is my sister received a perfect copy, which she lent to me, and I left upstairs. Sarah's a beautiful person, and she lent it to me. So again, just thanks, Sarah, for sponsoring another episode.
That's the important thing. Thank you, Sarah.
Did you listen to the playlist from Rebecca Yarros herself?
No, because I saw the first two artists were Adele and Halsey, and I was like, I'm not doing this.
That is pretty rough. Adele and an Iron Flame playlist.
I will say I liked it, but I love Adele.
I mean,
like Halsey.
no shade to Rebecca Yarros. She can do what she wants. But I'm just like, I know I'm not feeling that song
I
particularly.
really struggle when people use modern music to make playlists of their blorbos. Like, that seems like a personal thing.
Yeah.
It is totally a personal thing, but I have to admit that I completely 100% do it.
Before I found this, I listened to a playlist on YouTube that was like basically How to Train Your Dragon, but for Iron Flame. It was great. All right, you ready to get into this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm always ready. Let's do
you're
it.
leading.
I know. I just want to make sure. Consent's important. So there was a trigger warning at the start of this book, which I didn't realize Fourth Wing also had. I apparently skipped right through it. So, but also the trigger warning links to their website, and then you have to like scroll through the website.
What's the
It's on the
trigger
very
warning
bottom.
for?
Like violence and torture and sexual content printed
I
on
guess.
the page.
We're not alluding to it. It's
No,
right there.
no, it's right there. Chapter 1 starts off right after Violet wakes up from sleeping for 3 days after being stabbed by a venom. So if you forgot anything that happened in Fourth Wing, well, you should have reread it because she doesn't give you any sort of recap. And Violet, she would have died if not for her back from the dead healer brother saving her. During this awkward family reunion, she realizes that she slept through her 21st birthday. So let's all pour one out for our girl Violet.
It's done. I did it.
Yeah, but I'm not pouring this out because there's carpet on the floor. So Lieutenant Colonel Brennan, which is her brother, gets called to a meeting, which cuts their reunion short. But Violet overhears the meeting through an open door. So apparently the meeting's not that secret. Tyrandor, which is the like rebel lands, correct? Yeah. They need weapons and also something called a luminary. And I had to search through Fourth Wing Wikipedia to remember what the fuck a luminary is. And this is the quote in Fourth Wing Wikipedia, which is a thing. It's a device which intensifies dragon fire to a temperature hot enough to smelt alloy to forge weapons which are capable of killing venom. The people who help run any Wikipedia pages are gorgeous. Like, they're on top of it always,
And
updating
I
it
have
at every moment.
Zero memory of this luminary.
I didn't really remember what it was for, but I'm assuming we're going to get there. We're going to explain all that.
Yeah, it's really, like, mentioned twice. I, like, went through when I was editing the notes. I had to see if I even mentioned it again. So the assembly, which is what this meeting is called, is big mad that Violet's there, and they argue, like, what should we do with her? What should we do with this girl? And then she remembers she has a backbone, and she tells these boomers to shut the fuck up.
I read this chapter and I was like, God, this is going to be such a doozy of a book because I was like, what is going on here? So, like, I just don't understand. Like, we are going and we're like, hey, your dead brother is here. And then they're like, hold on to that thought. Yeah, we're going to have to process this. He's alive. Take 2 seconds to process it. Okay, assembly meeting.
Yep.
And I'm like, what was the more important thing here? I have to think about this for a second.
Not her brother, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a pretty big through line in the first book of, well, my brother has died and it tore my family apart. But she seems pretty chill now that he's back.
Yeah, she gets over it so quick. They're
Yeah,
like having
she's,
crackers
She's like
or biscuits or
more
something. Sorry.
mad that her boyfriend of 5 minutes lied to her about some stuff.
Yeah, we'll get to there. Don't you worry. Then she fights with her brother because now we actually have time to have this argument, and he finally explains how he's alive, but like kind of glosses over a lot of facts. Violet questions him about the venom and the wyvern and realizes that she's the only one smart enough to figure out that the fables her dad read them are actually true. Thank God our girl's smart. Also, that iron box from Fourth Wing seems to be a lure for the baddies. When we talked about Fourth Wing, we were like, what the fuck is this iron box for? That's what it's for. just a lure. They couldn't have told us last book. No. Also, it might be made by Navarre, which is, if you don't remember, that's like where Basgiath is. So they, but like before they could make sure it was by those people, they destroyed it. So we don't actually know for sure.
Yeah, this plot device has no more use, so it is removed.
Yep. So then Brennan is helping Tyrandor and everyone else fight against the Menin, and when they eventually attack Navarre, he will help them win the revolution. So that's his plan. But turns out this revolution looks like it's going to fail before it begins because they have a broken wardstone and no weapons.
Yes, wardstones, something I barely remember from the first book, are going to become incredibly important in this book.
I think they talk about them like once in the first book.
This is where I'm going to step in and say I did not know they would be a thing until like halfway through.
It's because they really aren't a thing until like part 2.
Yeah, I was like, I don't need to remember this.
Which is why we'll argue later these should have been just 2 separate books. Brennan then tells Violet to focus on getting weapons and not worrying about anything else because when she gets back to dragon school, apparently their dragons can't do anything. So, you know, they need knives. Also, in case you forgot about her, Andarna has gone through dragon puberty and now she's an angsty teen. So, also she's got black scales now because she wants to be like Taryn. But she also still needs to wear her dragon Bjorn. And then the rebel kids vote and they go back to school because it's graduation tomorrow. I miss graduation.
Can't get over the fact that they went back to the school. I don't know why, but I'm just like, why are we doing this?
They talked about it for like 1 minute, and they're like, we have to go back. It's graduation.
Yeah, we found out our entire culture is built on a lie, but got to go back and take chemistry.
Because, no, it's graduation. We got to get to that, like, amazing party afterwards.
Also, like, only 2 of them graduate. I know. Like, whatever. So then, everyone returns to school, again, for graduation and the graduation party. Violet and Xaden grab the letters from Liam's room, which I don't remember from the first book, and then Violet gives them to Rhiannon, but is like, don't read these. Violet asks Xaden how he can lie to everyone he cares about, which he says, I never lied to you, baby, just withheld the whole truth. Because, you know, those are 2 different things. Violet reminds him that he promised to tell her everything, which he now qualifies to be only everything about him. So then Violet says, you tell the truth, mister, I'm going to fall out of love with you, which I literally laughed at when I read that.
Yeah, okay, so listening to Xaden and Violet bicker in this book for as long as they do over basically nothing is something that I think about too much. Because it becomes a question of realism, right? Like, obviously he is keeping secrets. He is a revolution leader, and Violet cannot control herself literally at all. And she's still like, tell me the secrets, when she can't protect them. So the real question for me is, why is she even going back to Biscaeth? If she's putting literally everything and everyone in danger. Like, is it hubris? Is it because they just really need weapons? Like, why?
I said this at the end of the first book, but her being mad at this point is crazy because how are they supposed to know that she could be trusted with the knowledge of the revolution and the Venin? She's like one of the main general's daughters, and apparently her brother did not vouch for her in this revolution.
No. And like to get back to the assembly meeting from chapter 1, they were like, we can't send her back because some guy already read her memories. And then Xaden's like, no, it's cool. I'll teach her how to protect her memories. Do you remember that from the book?
Yeah, I do. I remember that because they're like, oh, this already happened. She's totally, she's a risk. We can't send her back. And he's like, no, it's cool. I'll teach her. But he doesn't. He leaves.
I was just going to say, he doesn't. Because he's graduating. He leaves. Yeah. He's got to go to college now, baby. Or I guess this is college now. He's going to do his job.
He has to go to Dragon grad school.
Yeah, Dragon grad school.
He needs to get a master's degree, at the least. Graduation finally starts. That was all pre-graduation. And surprise, Xaden is declared dead. Cliffhanger at the end of this chapter.
They were all cliffhangers.
I know. I was going to ask you that. Like, it's so annoying to me. Why does every chapter... I'm going to flip to the next page anyways. Mm-hmm. The book's not over. Why are you giving me a cliffhanger to make me continue? Like, it's asinine to me.
No, it's a cheap device.
Yeah, okay. It felt cheap, and this whole book, to be honest, felt cheap. I was very frustrated reading the whole thing. Had a little cliffhanger. He's dead. And then Xaden and Violet convince Colonel Atos and General Sorengale that the Griffins attacked them because Colonel Atos sent them beyond the wards. And now Dane's dad is in big trouble with Violet's mom.
In case you don't remember, Colonel Atos is Dane's dad.
Yeah. And then because, remember, Dane was the person who stole all of Violet's memories, Violet's like, hey, fuck you, don't ever touch me again. And then in case he didn't get that, Xaden's like, yeah, don't ever touch her again. And then he makes a huge scene. Because that's romantic.
I know. So I do love that this is their plan, that he's just going to come up and, like, yell at Zane, don't you touch her, mister, and then just walk away and leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and, like, none of, like, the principals, which are, the generals in them, they're not like, hey, y'all, keep it together. We have a graduation to start. No, like,
Dude, we have established in this series that the adults in this situation do not. People are just snapping each other.
Yeah.
In class, they do not care what these students do. It is so arbitrary.
I know, but I just want them to be like a little adult once.
There's no authority, I think, in this book.
No, there's none.
They just yell at each other, and then they're like, I guess they're going to do what they're going to do. And if they do it, I guess we'll torture them. And if they don't do it, I guess we'll still torture them. Or maybe we won't.
Yeah, or maybe we won't.
Yeah,
or maybe your dragon will, I don't know, threaten my dragon, and then I'll be like, I guess I'll listen.
Right, because then they have like the weird hierarchy of dragons, and they're like, well, your dragon's more powerful than my dragon, but I'm a colonel, and you're just a cadet. It's like, oh my god.
I know. So because we're still at graduation, everyone finally graduates. No talk about what the ceremony is actually like because it's boring, like all graduations are. Then we have a graduation party for like a week until the freshmen get to school. Work party harder. But they all seem to be drinking Mike's Hard Lemonade. Like, what the fuck was up with that? Like, these are like some Natty Light or Bud Heavy type people, but we're drinking lemonade.
I love the lemonade thing. It was so random.
I guess I assumed that if they drank something, it would be like Everclear, some kind of hard grain alcohol moonshine
It's just
thing.
like
Yeah.
a lemon taste.
Since Dragon Riders are so hardcore.
Yeah, you would think they would drink something like a little more serious.
Also, considering the psychic bond between riders and their dragons, do you think there's a chance that when humans get drunk, the dragons get drunk too?
I think that would be amazing. I wish they would have written that into the book.
Yeah, I would hope that would happen.
Yeah. So Violet attempts to set a boundary with Xaden while they're at this party. And she says, we're not going to be fucking until you start telling me the truth. And he says, bet.
Gross.
Yeah. The audacity.
I'm just like, despair.
We have to add tension in here because, they already love each other, kind of. So, keeping on with their messed up relationship, Violet and Xaden get orders that say they can only see each other every weekend, even though their dragons can only be apart for 3 days. Remember, we don't actually care about dragon rules. So, they're just going to die because they can't be apart. Don't know why humans keep making rules that affect dragons when they know dragons won't follow them.
No, truly a giant plot hole in this book is everyone forgetting that the dragons have rules, and they are the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we are constantly being told that the dragons are so fierce, and we see them kill these kids for, like, breathing too heavy. But anytime there is a serious hindrance that is brought up, like, we're not going to keep this mated pair together, Violet, a dragon rider, literally cannot ride a dragon, stuff like that. The dragons are like, we'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm. And on top of all of this, Colonel Atos casually just threatens to kill them.
Yeah, join the club.
So now school restarts, and Violet learns about a secret class for second years called Rider Survival Course, or RSC.
Yeah, I have no memory of this. Like, absolutely none. I kind of remember when they met up with the infantry, but no.
Yeah. Now it's conscription day, which is the parapet day, in case you forgot what that was. And the squad gets some new members. So they get Liam's sister, Sloane, who hates Violet. And they also get the king's third son, Prince Cam, a.k.a. Eric. Sloane's pissed she's on Vi's squad because she blames her for Liam's death.
I think it was Arik, right?
It would be Arik because it's 2 A's, yeah.
I think it was Arik in the audiobook.
This is what happens when you just read.
It's Arik because 2 A's together. It's like a 2 A's. It was off.
But it is important to note that Arik is here in secret.
Yeah, only Violet and Dane know that he's the prince. And we're keeping it hush-hush.
Mm-hmm.
So during that dragon/new cadet stare down that happened in Fourth Wing, also happens again here, a dragon just burned some new cadets to death because they tried to run away. Mm-hmm. He also almost burned Violet too. So Taryn gets pissed and appears and tells him the next time he tries to do that shit, he's going to eat his rider, who is the new principal, Major Varish.
Varish.
Oh, I got that one right. So maybe I'm not understanding this. I mean, we talked about this earlier. We're going to talk about this again and again because this is a theme in this book that I just couldn't get. But like, if dragons basically run this show, why isn't the hierarchy of the world based on who is the strongest dragon? Like, Taryn is obviously stronger than Major Varish's dragon. And time again, Major Varish is like, I'm big bad, I'm big strong. And then Taryn's like, nah, dog.
Yeah, no, he's not. No, absolutely not. Yeah, that's a good question. So humans always forget this. They forget that the dragons run the show, and this is like a theme throughout this book, is that they keep forgetting that the dragons literally run everything. So I think ultimately answer is that the strongest humans are the ones with the strongest dragons, but tyranny. Like,
Yeah.
because the cadets, like, Violet doesn't know what the heck she's doing.
That's true.
So
I mean, she is dumb and young.
like, if she knew how to, like, work with Taryn, she could, like, rule everything. But she's, what, a second year? What does she know?
Like 20?
Yeah.
Maybe
20.
The only one who I think fits into this, like, they're dragon super strong and they're super strong, is the, like, Meligrin general. I don't know what his position is.
Again, I just go back to the fact that this is a shitty, poorly organized military. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, true.
Also, there are too many people in this goddamn.
Oh my God, there's so
yeah.
many people. And then, like, again, I'm just a normie who's never been a part of the army, and I'm not interested in, like, army stories. So every time they're like, Colonel Luton.
There might as well be.
Lieutenant.
I don't know.
Colonel Luton.
I was willing to just roll with it. I thought, yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, is there a Colonel Luton? I have no idea.
Colonel Lieutenant is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so Dragon School then continues because we got to keep taking physics and chemistry, but things are weird in Battle Brief. Oh, also, plus someone snaps Nadine's neck. Don't know if you remember her. I didn't. And that's because they thought she was Violet. Someone was like, hey, Violet, and she raises her hand, even though she's not her.
It was a joke.
Funny. So funny.
Joke.
Funny joke with severe consequences.
Yeah.
This actually was a pretty funny scene, though, because it was just like, oh, you're Violet? And he walks over and just goes, snap.
Yeah, and then guess what? That was the end of the chapter.
Yeah.
Of course it was.
Oh, no, what will happen? Let me turn the page.
So our first-year cadet turns out to be an assassin that was sent by Colonel Atos. That was the guy who killed Nadine. Mm-hmm. So then Xaden shows up because, now it's like their weekend that they can meet up. And they talk about why everyone is so lax about killing and death at the school. And he says they do it to become weapons.
Yeah, okay, listen. So that's okay. The way that the U.S. military system is set up is to create human weapons, right? Like, this is how I've always viewed the human military that we have. You take a human person, you put them in the military. The military is like, you have a personality? Nope, not anymore. You have our personality now. And then they just throw that person out there to do war. And yet, we managed to not totally destroy them.
I'm no expert on the military, but from what I've heard, from what other people have said, is that sometimes there are people who join the military that are super enthusiastic about killing, and they're usually not very popular or given very important jobs.
Yeah.
Like, they need you to kill people in the military sometimes, but they prefer that you do not be mentally unstable to do it.
Right, because they're handing you a weapon. Like, you're handing lots of weapons. If you handle, like, someone who's mentally unstable constantly all the time and noticeably so, I mean, I would assume that would be kind of a red flag for the military.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
this is
kind
a green
of a red flag when you kill your own soldiers.
Exactly. So it's like, I mean, war crimes happen, so certainly they are sending people out there who are unhinged with weapons. I mean, obviously it happens, but, like, the noticeably screwed up ones at base camp or whatever, they're like, maybe not you. You're not doing it.
No, but that's green flags here at Basgiath. So speaking of more green flags, Violet gets a love letter from Xaden about his life, and it's like some bullshit stuff that doesn't matter. And I get that, like, it's because people are going to read their letter, so he can't even say anything. But, like, I don't care about you and your dad. Like, sorry. Artless. Principal Varish harasses Violet and says he's going to punish her for not forcing Indarna to be at flight class. And, like, why is Indarna even supposed to be at flight class if she can't even carry Violet? Like, he's so adamant that she has to go. And again, why are we making rules for dragons? Like, they aren't going to follow them.
Why are the dragons entertaining this?
That's a good question.
Truly.
I mean, really, it's all a power play on his part, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I want to punish you for reasons. And for his own weird reasons that I'm never quite clear on. So he wants this. He wants this to happen. So he comes up with the reason. But it's also like, but this reason's dumb.
It is dumb. It's kind of like when people try to train their cats. Like, cats are anarchy.
They are. Why would you try that?
I mean, my cat knows a couple tricks, but, like, if I'm like, no, she's not going to listen.
No, cats don't listen to no.
No, but, like, yeah, I know. And dragon and cats are the same, I guess, is my point.
No. The Council of Cats have decided.
Truly. Honestly, this book would be better if it was about cats. So chapter 12, we're now only at chapter 12 out of, like, I don't even care how many. The only thing that happens is Violet visits Xaden and they make out.
Yeah, that's important.
But they don't have sex because there's still an embargo on that.
Yeah, she's still mad at him.
Yeah, she's still mad. Yeah.
But we can make out. So then because Andarna didn't show up for flight practice, Varish punishes Violet. And he does this by making her use her signet till she burns out, like literally, not just like, I've been working too hard and I'm burning out. And, you know, again, riders are treated as weapons/machines rather than people.
If he wants Violet dead, which is becoming like super obvious at this point.
Yeah, very obvious.
He can just kill her. God knows that goes on constantly in this war college. You know, just snap her in half in flight class.
Yeah, I feel like he wants to do it with like style though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with
You know?
panache.
Yeah.
He wants to be able to steeple his fingers and say good.
Yeah.
Good.
He wants to be able to tell her his evil plan before he does.
Yeah, he wants the monologue.
Mm-hmm. And it'll happen. Violet and Squad 4, I think they are. I checked this and I think I went back, but I could be wrong. We're calling them Squad 4 from now on. They're kidnapped by their professors and forced to go on a hike with Infantry Squad, a scribe, and a healer, while dragons from another squad hunt them as part of Rider Survival Course
I'm
class.
sorry, the only thing I could think to myself was there are more names that I must remember.
Oh yeah, so many. So many. And a name you might remember, Jack Barlow. He was the guy who like tried to push her off the parapet.
Yeah.
His dragon is one of the dragons trying to kill them. And he actually does. He kills an infantry squad leader. And surprise, they failed their hike. Probably because the only thing that they're learning is chemistry. Everyone agrees that something weird is going on at Basgiath, since the riders were given a special potion that mutes their bond and signet powers while they're on this death hike. Another name you might have forgotten, you might have remembered, Jacinia. She reveals that she's been keeping Violet's book request a secret since she's also suspicious of the higher-ups. She agrees to help Violet find what she is looking for if Vi lends her the fable books that she was asking about.
If you recall, Jacinia is the scribe who is friends
Yeah.
with Violet.
Yep.
She's basically the librarian.
Yeah.
She's a librarian.
She's the librarian. Battle Brief is actually interesting for once, in my opinion. One of the professors reads a public announcement that he snatched from Rhiannon's hands, and it reveals that refugees from...
Poramel,
Really?
right?
I think I was thinking Promiel.
Well, the French in me, which I'm not French at all, wants to say Paromiel.
That's fine. I'm good with that.
No, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, whatever. It's made up.
Yeah, whatever. Refugees are trying to enter Navarre. That's all you need to know.
From someplace.
Yeah, and we don't know if it's
If
true or
figures,
not.
that's fine.
Yeah. This is now Zayden's week to visit Violet at college in their long-distance relationship, and they were apart for 2 weeks. Don't know how their dragon survived, even though they're all supposed to die after 3 days. Yeah. Also, she keeps using the phrase, "You smell like you've been flying for 12 hours." Like, what the fuck would that smell like? I mean, I don't know. Would it be like riding a horse for a few hours? Like, are you just sweaty? Like, what do horses smell like? I'm not a horse person.
So yeah, you do smell like a little like a barn after you finish riding a horse, but also horses live in barns, and so that's kind of why that happens. So,
Oh, that makes sense. But like,
Yeah, and they have like fur.
yeah. So the question is, what do dragons smell like?
Char, maybe?
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Like where do they live? Dragons?
I don't know.
Caves? Do they smell kind of damp,
Like
but
musty?
also burned?
So after saying she wouldn't sleep with him, you know, because who's visiting who here? Oh, Zayden is visiting Violet. So she's like, I'm not going to sleep with you because he's keeping secrets. She actually really wants to sleep with him because this girl's just horny.
And honestly, fine. Good for her.
Yeah, good for her.
But, like, if you want to have sex with him, just have sex with him.
Yeah, you can
Why-
be mad and not withhold sex.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't make it weird.
That's all she does. Zayden then finds out that Violet is researching how to fix the wards, and he gets pissed. And he says, direct quote, "You hid it from me, but I'm livid that you put your life at risk for me. That's not something I can handle."
Oh, boo-hoo.
To which Violet eventually replies, "You would never sit down here and do nothing when you could help. Asking me to do differently is just insulting." And like, I don't like Fourth or Fifth Wing really as books, but like, I do like Violet as a female lead for calling her man on his hypocritical bullshit.
Yeah, that's fair.
One of the things I really struggle with in hetero romances is when the dude gets overprotective. Being worried is one thing, but getting mad when she, as a person with skills, uses those skills, it's a major ick for me.
Yeah, and just get ready to feel icky through this whole thing because they just have the same fight
Oh, yeah.
over and over.
For, what is this, like 930 pages?
Yeah, and actually in the same chapter, they have the same fight on their way back from the archives.
Gotta keep up that fight.
Yep. So Varys tries to punish Violet again because Andarna is still in this dreamless sleep. But finally, Tarn decides to tell him to fuck off again by biting into his dragon's neck, by Varys' dragon's neck. And for once, no one actually dies, which is a little sad. Rhiannon and Violet get into an argument about how necessary it is to weed out the weak at Basgiath. Violet has been chugging the Kool-Aid, it seems, because she throws out this line. We are the weapons, and this place is the stone they use to sharpen us. And I feel like we've heard that line before.
I feel like, oh God, when I was looking at this, I'm like, was she here when Xaden said the weapon line? I'm like, God, of course she was. She tells this story in the first person, so duh. But yeah, I'm like, it's alarming to me that she'll just parrot this opinion this way. Like, for being so supposedly kick-ass, I'm like, no, don't do this. Don't do this to me, Violet. You are your own person.
Nope. She's just Xaden's spawn.
Did you know that at Jonestown they actually use Flavor Aid?
You have told me this before.
No.
And
Is Flavor Aid
no.
like off-brand Kool-Aid?
It's off-brand, which, not to make light of a terrible incident, but really just seems like insult after injury that you can't even go for the name brand.
So Violet visits Xaden this time, and like we don't really care about school at this point in the story, I guess. Oh, and she's visiting him at his post, and surprise, Mira, Violet's sister, is also at this post, and so when Xaden and Violet reunite, they just straight up make out in front of Violet's sister.
Gross.
Yeah, gross. And as someone who has siblings, I find this hella weird. Like, maybe I'm just anti-PDA, but something I've noticed in all the books, not all of, but a lot of the books I read, is the characters make out in front of people, like, so much. And I can't even name, outside of, like, drunk parties at college, how many people I've seen make out in public.
Yeah, I can't really think about that either without being, like, just grossed out. Like, no, turn away. In terms of family, no. It's not appropriate. I have a sister as well, and I think I've only seen her kiss her husband once, and it was at their wedding.
I was just going to say, like, my brother and sister-in-law, like, kissed at their wedding, and then once when I was visiting them, they were, like, had a little peck, and I said, ew, and they were like, grow up. I'm like, no, do that in your private time.
Like, I will not grow up.
No, never.
I feel like this is something I have seen way more in fan fiction than I've ever seen in real life. Like, day to day, your family and friends have their own shit going on. Mm-hmm. Who watches two friends grope each other and thinks, nice?
Yeah, but this is her sister.
Or to be so invested in it, like, yeah, you totally should make out more in front of me. Like,
yeah, she should. Yeah,
to care at all.
If my sister made out in front of me.
Yeah, no, I'm never this interested in people's love lives. I'm sorry.
No, me neither. So Violet tries to get information about the wards and wardstones from Mira, since her signet is extending or replicating the ward around her. Mira tells her to mind her business because she doesn't have clearance. She also tells Violet to shut up again when Violet mentions wyverns to her.
So did anyone else feel very confused by the first half of this book? Like, I could not figure out what she was trying to do here for the longest time, only to discover that wardstones are very important, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I was definitely in the second half of this book before I clued into the fact that wardstones were important and I should have been paying attention all along.
What is this girl doing? I've spent 20 chapters listening to her do things, but I'm like, why? Why is she doing any of these things? Where is this going?
I know, and actually I like keyed up when they talk about wardstones in the first half of the book more. Like, they talk about weapons all the time. Like, at some point in one of these, like, reunions in Samara, or I kept writing Sumatra. Violet goes with Xaden to drop off weapons. It might happen later, but they talk about it a couple times, and I just, like, don't even put it in there because it doesn't matter to the story.
Yeah.
Because I know you find out later it's like a red herring or something, or smoking gun. I don't know what the thing is, but yeah. It's basically wardstones matter, weapons don't.
Smoking herring.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's a new literary term that's been born today. Smoking herring.
Smoking herring. So we're back at school, and in history class, they discuss the pros and cons of colonialism. Unification. Mm-hmm. So Dane uses his wing leader status to literally pick a fight with injured Violet because she's been ignoring him up until this point. And while fighting her, while she has like a dislocated shoulder, he confesses that he didn't know that she was being sent to her death at Athbine. And he also tells her that her mom was the one who put the 107 marks on Xaden's back.
God, Dane. I'm actually liking Dane.
I know, I liked him a lot in this book.
Thank you, Dane. Thank you for pushing this book forward.
Mm-hmm.
I always liked Dane. I thought he made good points.
Hot
Pro Dane.
take. Rhiannon starts to put the pieces together, but Violet won't spill all the beans. Violet also discovers that Auric joined Dragon School because he knows about the Venin and Wyvern, because the Royal Guard have actually started to carry these special daggers.
So, going back to why are they keeping this information from the members of the military? Like, okay, let me let me try to think this out for a second.
Do it.
This empire invaded other lands and pulled them into their territory. Then the Wyvern and Venom became a threat, and they tried to close up the borders, i.e., where the ward stones protect out to. That's the borders.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now they are fighting people who are coming in from neighboring uncolonized lands, but they don't want these people to come in because... And that's where my understanding ends.
I think it's like maybe a little bit of like a illegal immigration theme.
That's what I was picking up on, too. I mean, especially with, like,
not to
the
sound-
wall of the wardstone protection.
Right.
Not to sound like some sort of evil dictator, but why don't you make them join the military?
Yeah. You've already made those other, like, rebellion kids join the military. Why not these people?
Yeah, you can come in our border, but you have to give one of your sons to the military.
Yeah, fresh fodder.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, like, discrimination against the other people because they're not bonded with dragons. They bond with griffins or whatever the hell is out there.
But
they never talk about it in the book.
They have the infantry, too, so just, like...
Yeah, just make them be infantry.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is where my confusion lives. Right there.
Yeah.
this weird world building that I don't understand.
Well, she doesn't world build, that's why. She just glosses over it, which is why I have so many questions. So Violet has a nightmare about Venom taking her, and then she gets nabbed for torture training. So the second years on the squad have to each share a secret during this torture class. Violet tells the squad that the infantry is actually killing the refugees at the border, which is a little fucked up. Well, a lot of fucked up, actually.
No, you just can't kill refugees at the border or at all, really. So that's a war crime. Moving on.
Yeah. Dane gets called into torture class to practice his signet on Violet. He uses a technicality to refuse, and Varish punches Violet in her shoulder.
I
think that's funny.
It's just so weird. Like, what? I can't use my powers on her. Punch.
I remember this is the principal punching her.
Yeah, like this is
It's
more like
so comically evil. That's
Yeah,
what
it really is.
Farish is comically evil, and like Dane, I'm loving you more and more.
I know. That was like Violet's thing, to use her rules to get out of everything. I was like, way to take a little page out of her book. And Varish is just literally comically evil because we don't know why he really hates her at this point. Maybe it's talked about once, but not enough for me to actually pick up on it.
Yeah, this is also part of my confusion. I have no idea what he wants, what his issue is. I think he's probably suspects Violet of like maybe torn loyalties since she's, having the sex with Xaden. But I mean, if that's the case, then throw them all in military prison or whatever. Like, it makes no sense to me, but what he is up to.
I think that the author was told she needs a Dolores Umbridge type up in here.
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about how we think Fourth Wing, and I guess Fifth Wing as well, is like a mix mash of like all the different fantasy books, so it makes sense that they need something else besides Hogwarts.
Yeah, I believe I referred to this as the dying gasp of romantasy.
Yeah, you did. I hope it's not true, because then
what will happen to our podcast?
Then we can't do this anymore. We'd have to like start doing whatever's popular. That'd be terrible.
Yeah. So to wrap up torture class, the squad manages to escape because there's some Bluetooth magic that goes on with Violet's daggers, and it triggers the lock on the door, and they get free. Literally just walk out. Then we're in battle brief right after torture class. We don't get any time with like the school counselor to talk through our feelings. Fuck that. Just go back to class.
No counselor here.
No, they would have been killed anyways.
Can you imagine if they had a grief counselor? That'd be crazy.
God, they'd be like, suck it up, rub some dirt in it. So in battle brief, everyone falls for propaganda, or is it? And then we get a lovely surprise that Crazy Jack is back from the dead.
And he's like nice now.
Yeah, he's a born again Christian.
The way I rolled my eyes when he appeared, I'm like, of course he's back.
Yeah, I was like, oh god, there's so many new characters to remember the names of, and now you're bringing back dead characters I have to remember the names of.
Yeah, you can't even forget them to make space for new names. I literally put my book down and like looked up at the ceiling and this empty house and was like, because like no thanks. We're still in battle brief in this next chapter, and she finds out that there was an attack on the Samara outpost, which is where Xaden is, and he was injured. So she runs off to be with him. Kind of dramatic.
Yeah, so much for that dragon bond.
Yeah. So when she gets to Samara after like flying for like 12 hours or something, she realizes that Xaden isn't hurt at all. He just has like a teeny tiny scratch.
Again, so much for that dragon bond.
Yeah. It apparently doesn't work. Maybe she drank that potion. Then, because she's so relieved that he's alive and he's not injured, they fuck in the gym shower.
Yay.
Don't even care that people are going to walk in on them. There's literally a line in it where they talk about how the door's not locked and she doesn't care.
I think that's part of the attraction.
I mean, yeah, for sure. But like the main part they should be thinking about is potentially getting a staph infection.
You would think that would be the main problem.
Oh.
Yeah. Are they wearing flip-flops?
No,
Because
they're
that's-
wearing, I just remembered, they're wearing their fucking flight leathers. So like as someone
It's
who was
just
on swim
squeaky
team,
on
yeah.
squeaky.
I just remember this chapter. I was thinking like, oh my god, when I was in high school and swimming, taking off those swimsuits that are like 7 sizes too small was like so painful. And then putting on like leggings when your legs were kind of wet. But like we're now talking about like removing leather that's been soaking wet.
And also, they smell like flying, so you can imagine
Ew,
what that smells
yeah,
like.
manure.
Oh god.
And
Dragon barn.
yeah, char. Damp caves. Just want to take a moment to talk about our thoughts on this. We can't fuck until you say I love you. Because Xaden's kind of like comeback to her saying like, we're not going to fuck until you tell me the secrets, was him saying, I'm not going to fuck you until you say you love me again.
This is so childish.
I mean, yes, but explain. We need to talk more because I was
Yeah.
so
I mean,
frustrated
it
by
sounds
this.
manipulative to me.
It is manipulative. It's like, okay, so she's mad at you. Now you're going to find a way to be mad at her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is like, how old are you guys again? I'm sorry, you're
20.
in your early 20s.
Yeah.
So fine, but whatever. Like, also, like, this is stupid. You guys are stupid. Just, have an adult conversation.
No, why would we do that? I agree that it's manipulative, Tabitha, because I felt crazy reading this because I would go on TikTok a couple times and people be like, oh my God, Xaden and Violet are endgame. And I'm like, did we read this same book? This manipulative bullshit is like halfway through this book now, almost more.
I think, from way back in the day, I remember when fantasy novels and YA specifically were like, everything is amazing. This manipulative relationship is the best. It's the best thing that I've ever seen. It's totally the relationship I want in my own life, like AKA Twilight.
Yeah,
So it's like, we're primed for this shit.
that's true. We've been reading it since birth.
Yep.
Also, just a note on this chapter. Unless it is the first time that characters have sex in a story, thus the release of sexual tension, or it is remarkably well written, I get so bored of repeated sex scenes in books. It just bogs down the storytelling, like my eyes glaze over.
Yeah, I mean, at least this one was like, I guess, a different position, if you will.
It was in the shower, and they were not wearing flip-flops.
No, they were
so
wearing squeaky leather.
Not a caddy to be seen.
I wonder if they do.
Do you,
Shower caddies.
do you think that one of the other
Little
dragon
plastic
riders...
ones from
I hope
Walmart.
so.
I'm sorry, Tabitha.
Do you think that one of the other dragon riders just like walked up and almost opened the door of the showers and he heard just like leather squeaking?
Yes,
Like, eek,
yes.
eek, eek,
Yeah.
and just walked away.
I hope so. That's so funny. So, after they fuck, Violet tags along as Xaden makes a weapons drop with the Griffin Riders, and she meets Xaden's ex, Catriona, aka Cat.
And oh no, she is hot and mean.
Yeah. And blonde.
Yeah, she is
Well,
blonde.
that's how you know she's mean.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
Xaden and Violet tell each other some secrets, and by that I mean Xaden tells her basically one important secret about how they could have gotten a luminary from Viscount Takaris.
Takaris.
Sounds a little bit like what's that lady's name from Game of Thrones? The dragon lady.
There's a dragon lady.
Yeah.
Oh, Daenerys.
Yes, thank you.
I'm like, who's the dragon
What is she?
lady in
Yeah.
Game of Thrones? Like, duh.
Takaris kind of sounds like Daenerys, and then it also sounds like what she says to make the dragons breathe fire.
To me, Takaris just looks like one of those fake Latin names that's all over fantasy.
Yeah, that's true. Like a keyboard smash a little bit. So they could have gotten this luminary from Viscount Takaris if Violet showed off her signet for him. Violet told Xaden all the fucked up shit that's been happening at school, and he was like, girl, you could have told me. And she's like, we've been keeping secrets. So Violet then returns to school, and she gets cornered by Principal Varish, who seems pleased at the chance to execute her. But then she gets saved by Professor by a technicality and the excuse that her dragon's mated again.
Oh my god, again, if you want to kill her, just kill her.
I know. He has so many chances, and he just fucks it up at every turn. So while Violet's bag is being searched, Rhiannon pulls the magic dagger through a wall to save her. So Violet then finally caves and tells her whole squad mates about the venom.
Yeah, that's Rhiannon's power, is she can, like...
Yeah, I forgot that until this literal moment in the book.
Yeah.
Do you know, I think I sent you this picture. There's like a bookmark that you can get that has like all the characters listed and what their signets are and what their dragons are.
Yeah, that would be helpful for this book.
But like, you shouldn't have to need it.
Well,
No, I
yes.
don't want to retain that information.
There are too many characters to retain all that
So
information.
many. And then like their pets all have names too that I have to care about. So this is chapter 30 now. Violet tells the squad almost everything about what the hell went down at War Games. They realize that the propaganda they've been reading in Battle Brief is true, and they all agree to help research how to set these wards.
I think it was around here that I realized I was supposed to remember and care about the characters Sawyer and Riddick, whose names I literally just had to look up because I still can't remember them.
Yeah.
They're the two other people in Violet and Rhiannon's squad?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're like comic relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Riddick is for sure.
Yeah, and cute relief. Like I feel like Sawyer's like the cute naive relief. And
Yeah.
like, yeah.
And Riddick's like the class clown. A few weeks go by and we end up watching the first years come back after threshing. Eric, I'm just calling him Eric. I know it's Arik, but I can't remember. So Arik and Sloane both come back with dragons. Yay for them. Violet gets attacked while relieving Ava, which is a character we're supposed to remember. She was on guard. And so Violet gets attacked while relieving Ava, another rebel kid who was at Ressin with her. Ava ends up dead, and we end the chapter with the infantry assassin watching Violet dangle off the turret, Lion King style. Turn the page, cliffhanger. Violet is pulled up by none other than Crazy Jack.
See, he's nice now, you guys.
Born again Christian.
Oh, yes.
Justinia found the secret vault of warding books that they've been looking for, but she can't get to them. We just need someone with royal blood. I wonder
so
if we know
convenient.
anyone.
Oh my god, who could we have added to this book who has royal blood?
Aaron. Xaden is big mad that Violet decided to trust her friends, but he decides to help her get into the restricted section. I mean, the Royal Library vaults. Eric, who's supposed to help them, has beef with Xaden because he killed Eric's brother, Alec. Whoops.
I don't even... Like, did they even bother explaining?
No, they literally, that's like all they said.
Yeah, they're just like, this thing happened.
Yeah, because they have, tension.
Yeah, there was a thing there, but who knows what that thing was. Okay,
Literally that
I
line.
bet that would have been a super exciting fight if somebody would have written it, but oh well.
Sincerely, like, yeah, maybe we would like to know, but not
Maybe
today.
she's gonna write like a prologue that has all this information in it,
Not.
and then just like Throne of Glass, people are gonna be like, which way are you gonna read it? Are you gonna read it fourth wing, fifth wing, and then the prologue? Or are you gonna read the prologue first and then fourth and fifth wing? Because that's what happened with Throne of Glass.
Would have believed
Yeah.
the future.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be a prologue. We have to explain how the venom got in here, so yeah.
So Justinia helps Violet, Xaden, Imogen, and
Bunch of people we don't know.
yeah, and Eric get to the royal vaults, where at the last second they find the journals they need to make it out of the archives without getting poisoned. And I swear I'm not making this up, but I think there's a real library somewhere that has poisoned air to preserve the books.
I think what you're thinking of is that there are some rare books rooms that have a fire suppression system that involves removing a large amount of oxygen from the room in case of a fire.
That is what I'm
They
thinking
do
of.
specify that it doesn't remove enough oxygen that it would kill you.
Oh,
But
it's kind of like disappointing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this isn't...
what a way to go.
Life is not iron flame, y'all.
That's
Just remember
I mean,
that.
thank God, honestly.
I mean, I'm mostly amused that the Society keeps their special books underground in stone vaults, which is, like, definitely going to make them decay due to mold, but, like, maybe they have a small magic solution for that.
Yeah, someone's small magic is that they can produce bleach.
Yeah.
So Xaden leaves with one of the journals after they got them, and Violet gets the other. Violet then gets tricked by Nolan into drinking the bond blocker solution, and then she's kidnapped by Varish.
Nolan is the head healer, right?
Yeah, he's like their family, like Violet's family friend. He's like the healer who helped her when she was growing up and like always had like a broken finger and like a broken leg, and because she's so weak and frail, she had to be healed all the time.
Fragile porcelain mouse.
Yeah.
All I'm seeing is just another name that I have to remember.
Yeah, who, like, again, in this summary wasn't mentioned until now.
Yeah. Yeah, I just noticed that. I'm like, wait. Oh, yeah.
Same with
Nolan.
Imogen. Like, she was mentioned just that one time. Violet gets questioned by Nolan, like, what a betrayal. And she can only tell the truth because there's some other, like, dragon rider whose signet is telling, like, she's a truth teller. Or no.
No, I can tell when people are lying.
Yeah, that's what her thing is. She's getting by on technicalities again. He leaves to gather a quorum of wing leaders for a trial. And then Varish continues to torture Violet. Because apparently he can't just kill her, like, straight out. He has to, like, have a jury decide. Yeah. Stupid. Varish, as all evil villains do, spill his master plan to Violet. He actually doesn't want her. He wants Xaden to break and come save her. And then he can finally kill Xaden. Finally. We get
all the attempts that he had.
Yep. So, during this week of torture, Violet hallucinates Liam's ghost, who talks her through all of this.
I kind of feel like finally we get a motive for Varish being an asshole, but I also sort of feel like, why?
It was really dumb. He had so many opportunities.
He had so many opportunities before. Like, Xaden came. There were a couple days that he was there. Like, you could get on your dragon and go to where he is. You don't need to do this.
Or, like, he could have just grounded her for longer, and then eventually wouldn't, like, Sigale have to come.
Yeah, eventually.
That would have been
Yeah, maybe that's what happened, because I couldn't really figure out why they gave her the blocker and then expected Xaden to show up, because it's not like she could mentally call to him at that point.
Right. Yeah.
But, yeah, maybe the silence and the fact it took him a week.
Yeah.
Again, it's almost like it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense because they can't like talk to each other through the bond that far away. They talk about it like at the beginning.
Yeah. No, it's like just like vague. This vague feeling.
It's
right?
all vague.
Yeah.
While she's getting tortured and healed for days, Dane finally gets called in to read her memories. And when he does, Violet, now trained in mind control, I guess, shows him what happened in Ressen. He gets pissed and He zaps Varish. I don't know what's wrong with my mouth today.
It's okay.
When he does, Violet shows him what happened in Ressen and he stabs Varish. Xaden shows up and kills the truthsayer as Violet and Dane escape.
I like Dane now. I like him. I'm sorry, all the Dane
No,
haters out there.
I like him too.
I like Dane. I think he redeems himself here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, I always thought he had a point. Was he a little pushy? Sure. But, I mean, if I was Violet's friend, I would have also thought she was making bad life choices.
Yep. I mean, even her mom is like, you're weak and probably going to die, but we're sending you to school.
Yeah.
So, new chapter, because we had to end it on a cliffhanger. Violet then stabs Varish fully to death now.
Yes, but...
Oh, yeah.
Not on her own. She has Xaden's help, you guys. Xaden's help. He needs to do the actual stabbing. She just gets to gently touch his arm as he does it. Because she's so woefully tiny and weak and helpless.
Well, they have to do it through love.
Of course they love. Yes, this is what gets them bonded. And now they're like, let's go have sex elsewhere.
Yep, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, guide my arm, baby, while I stab our principal.
So now that they had this tender moment of murder, Xaden can finally confess his love to her because, like, apparently he hasn't ever done it until now.
Sounds about right.
I didn't realize that until this moment.
Of course this makes sense. He's just like, I insist that you tell me that you love me, and then I'll have sex with you, even though I haven't told you that I love you.
And then after, like, 7 months of us having sex together, I'll finally say I love you.
This is such a man's interpretation of things. How did this? Oh, my God.
Yep. They have that tender moment. He says, I love you. Hearts flutter. Violet's mom then shows up to kill the vibe. She spills all the secrets. She knew that if she let Violet become a scribe, she'd eventually be told the truth about Venin. And then Violet would try to help the other countries because she's such a good person. Derogatory. So she forced Violet to join the Riders' Quadrant because she might actually have a chance to live. And not because Violet is tough or smart enough to make it through as a rider, but because General Sorrengail made a deal with Xaden that he had to ensure that Violet made it through her first year. And this deal worked out like, if you keep my child alive, I will make sure all the rebel kids go into the Riders' Quadrant. Oh, and like, yeah, she did cut Xaden 107 times, but it's a Tirish custom. So like, she can't even be mad at that. Like, sorry, she can't be a perfect mom all the time. God.
No, when I got to this reveal, I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding
And
me?
it like, and they were supposed to be enemies to lovers, right?
It was supposed to be enemies to lovers, but now we've discovered that it isn't actually.
It's really
enemies to
not
lovers.
at all.
He's just been bribed into just kind of
Helping
being
her out.
around, helping
Yep.
her out. And I'm like, okay, so they're not enemies to lovers.
Not even at all. Just like,
no.
And also keep in mind that for, 36 chapters to this point, their repeated argument has been that he is keeping things from her. And so it's her mom who has to tell her this.
yep.
So they're
not
going to
him.
fight again, is what I'm saying.
Oh, they fight the whole book.
Oh, for sure.
Yep,
Just
they're
100%
not done.
fighting.
They're not even done. And we don't get any time to like process what Violet's mom told us because Dane calls the quadrant together and tells them about the venom and wyvern. So he tells like the whole school. And they don't believe him until Taryn shows up and then makes all of them look at the memories of what happened at Ressin. But only some of the dragons like choose to show their riders this because again, dragons have the powers here.
Yeah, and then why wouldn't they choose? It's sort of like, are you on the side of the venom then?
I guess. Like I have no idea. There's
Yeah,
lots of
why-
theories about this. Like
Why
we'll
would
talk
so
about it
many
later.
dragons agree to keep the quote-unquote real enemy secret from humans? Like, what do they gain from it?
I don't know. They're just scared
Why bother
guys.
bonding with
Yeah.
a human if they're not going to fight?
Are you
Truly.
telling me that there are scare dragons out there? Is that a thing?
Maybe. No, that's my thought. So after they all see that 301 riders agree with Dane to go fly to what the heck is the name of this town?
I think in the audiobook it's Eretria, but there's no second
I just
R
like want to
there.
say Sha.
Eretia.
Arisha?
Yeah.
Arisha?
Eretia.
Arisha? God, I hate this. Like, this is not how phonetics work. All right, they go to this A town, okay? And that is the end of part 1. We're 36 chapters, which I realize is maybe not a lot. I didn't mark how many pages that was. But that's the end of part 1. And this is my biggest gripe with the whole book. I mean, second biggest gripe. My biggest gripe is the fucking fight that Xaden and Violet have throughout the whole thing. Why couldn't this just be the end of the book?
Because literally nothing of note happens.
I know, but
Yeah.
she could have like, I don't know, built up the world or like had us like have time to process any of this.
Oh yeah, okay. So had she like reshaped this first part and had everybody fly off to a town, yeah, this could have been a whole book.
That's
but like shit needed to happen in this book of note. Like I sincerely still don't know what the hell's going on
No.
in this first half.
Like
Maybe
you have
I'm dumb. Maybe I'm dumb.
No, I don't
will
think you're
accept
dumb.
that.
I think like we had the big villain. We had Principal Varish. He like, you know, we had the mystery of why the fuck he hated her. Xaden and Violet had like their weird fight. We had this like tension of them fighting the whole way through. Then Mom tells the secrets. Varish dies. We then decide that we're gonna fly off to Rebel Town.
Well,
And then cliffhanger, what happens when they get there?
Yeah, this is a travesty of a first half for me. just
Yeah, I
because,
hated
like,
it.
I mean, she would have had to totally rewrite this to make it a whole standalone book. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, it works, but she would have had to, like, make things clear.
Yeah, I know. The beats would have had to been
Yeah.
a little bit different.
It was just so muddled for me. I had no clue what was going on.
No. Tabitha, thoughts?
Well, there is very, very little plot that happens here, like plot that kind of carries over from the first book of
Right.
the quote-unquote main plot, which is basically just, you know, Wyvern and Venom are the most important things. It's a big secret, and Xaden's and Violet's relationship. Like, the whole thing with Varish, that didn't need to happen. That's nothing. Like, that is a character that was introduced
Yeah.
and killed in the first half of this book.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and why all of that? Why did he want to kill Xaden?
It was like
What's
she
going
needed
on?
Yeah.
needed the mechanic of having somebody try to kill Violet so they could escape out, but she realized she hadn't written anybody in the first book in a position to do that, so he's like, well, I'm here now.
But like,
Yeah.
To kill you.
couldn't she have kept Colonel Ados there the whole time?
Well,
Like he gets sent off at the beginning because he was in trouble for
Yes.
like sending them off to Ressin. Couldn't they have just written that like I don't know?
And it could have been him.
just
It would
could've
have
been
been better had it been him, because then you have the tension with Dane.
Yeah,
It would have been so much better if Colonel Atos had been the one trying to kill Violet.
I agree.
If he had actually been in league with the Venom or whatever. I
Yeah.
still don't even know what's going on with him.
No,
But if they did that, it would advance the plot.
Yeah.
that's yeah. How do you have 5 books if the second book actually advances the
There's
plot?
literally no tension in this book, like amongst the characters.
Well, you mean amongst Xaden and Violet, there's no tension?
Absolutely there isn't. I will die on that hill. There's no tension whatsoever. Their fights are a complete waste of my time.
I mean, I agree. I agree. Are we ready for part 2? Because it starts off
oh boy.
hot.
Let's do it. Let's dive into this.
So part 2 starts off with Xaden and Violet do it doggy style.
Okay. Okay. So here's the deal. I remember none of this.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember this either.
When you wrote this down, Xaden and Violet do it doggy style, I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, they talk for a little bit about where Violet is gonna sleep because they're like still in a fight, but she doesn't talk about that she knows like all of the secrets that he's been keeping from her mom. Like because her mom told her. I mean, no, they don't talk about that at all. And then Xaden's like, well, this is my house, so you're gonna sleep in my room type thing. Not the my throne line, but you know, similar vibe.
Close enough.
Yeah, and they have to christen the bed, so doggy style it is.
Naturally. Okay.
Yeah, but
Alright.
the furniture makes it this time.
Nothing burns down.
No, thank God. I mean, there is lightning that flashes every time they have sex, and I think it's stupid every time. But anyways, and just like the first chapter of the first part of the book, the first chapter of the second part of the book, there's a meeting with the assembly, and they are again super pissed that Xaden and Violet have brought 300 riders to whatever this town's called. Arisha.
A-town.
A-town. Arisha. And Xaden gets fed up, and then he lets it slip that he took responsibility for Violet, similar to how he took responsibility for the rebel kids. And poor guy is going to have scars all over him if he doesn't stop this, because he gets a scar every time he takes responsibility for people. And then at some point in this conversation, Violet also realizes that he's the future king, kind of.
That's
like,
how I interpreted it.
yeah,
The
it's
future
not-
king of Tyrandor.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's how I interpreted it as well. If Tyrandor was important or like as big as Navarre, it would have been a big deal. But
Yeah, but it's not.
Isn't so.
Finally, Andarna's woken up. She just now wakes up after we've gotten through basically most of the book. Taryn says that she was in dreamless sleep for too long, but also when she was in it, she was like coming in and out of it, so she didn't grow the right muscles, and now she'll never bear a rider.
Tragic.
So sad. I didn't feel sad for this at all. I was like, okay, whatever, move on.
Yeah, there's nothing there for me.
No. And then gotta keep up with school. We can't just drop out in the middle of this war, so we have school in Arisha.
I think so.
A-town. Let's just
A-town.
call it A-town.
Okay.
I enjoy A-town.
Okay, I do too. A riot flies towards them, and everyone freaks out, but it's just Mira and 40 other dragons who were allowed to leave after being told the truth by Violet's mom, which feels a little suspicious, if you ask me. So Mira gets to school, and she sees none other than her dead brother back alive, and so she yells at him for faking his death for so long. Xaden shows up, and he and Violet make out in front of her siblings again. Like, just fucking hug or something. It's gross.
Yeah, it is. We don't need to be like tonguing each other in front of other people.
Your siblings, specifically.
When you were around this age, did you ever try to plan a trip or an event with a group and two people in that group were dating?
Yes. I know exactly
It's a
what you're
fucking
talking
nightmare.
about.
The relationship like takes precedence over everything else that has happened. They'll do stuff like grope each other in front of you, and I just feel like this is what I would feel like if I was another rider who was like around when all this shit was going on, like the military collapsing, all these secrets coming out, and you got these two people that just like won't stop touching each other.
Yep.
I honestly
front of you.
feel like I'm in the middle of a keg party in college, just constantly.
I went more mature. This reminded me of like in high school when the kids are like, oh, babe, I'm going to miss you. I'm about to go to lunch. I can't wait to see you until lunch. Got to make out in front of the physics teacher. Like that's what I feel like this is. And it's literally like lunch is one period away and they're like crying in each other's arms.
Yeah, gotta hug and do all that stuff.
Yeah. So we have another assembly meeting. A lot of politics. I mean, makes sense, but
Deep sigh.
yeah.
So many assembly meetings.
I know.
It's
So
like that one Star Wars movie where they're just like, let's talk
oh my
about
god,
things
and the
for an hour and a half.
prequels, yeah, and they have like the Jedi assembly. Ugh, so boring. So the assembly discusses how to protect everyone, and they bring up the Viscount again, but Xaden and Brennan are like totally against it because Vi, like if she goes there, she's gonna become a dancing monkey for him. So they try to activate the wards without anything, and they fail. So then someone from A-Town tries to teach Violet how to aim her signet, and also maybe shoot it from her fingers. Do we think that after some training, she'll stop summoning lightning every time she orgasms? Because, like, I think Smokey the Bear would really want her to not start a forest fire every time she's getting dick down.
Yeah, no. Xaden has said somewhere on the line that he wants to fuck her until she burns down a forest.
I guess they
or
don't care about
something.
climate change in this world.
Yeah, I doubt that will happen. It's way too climactic.
Literally.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Also, another note. This was like the 8th time I read about this god Dune. She kept saying like, for the love of Dune, for Dune's sake. Like, who the fuck is Dune? So I Googled it, and like Fourth Wing Wikipedia didn't even have an answer. It was like some weird blog that's like obsessed with Fourth Wing. And apparently Dune, or Dune, I don't know, she's the god of war. And
I pronounced it as done.
done?
Yes, so did I.
Oh,
Done.
well. Never
It's
mind.
fine. You can pronounce it however you want.
Well, I am because I'm pronouncing everything however I want.
This is just the author throwing in some flavor with zero explanation.
This is just
Yeah.
world building flavor. It's just like a little sprinkle of salt on their plain white chicken.
I feel like also this is
They
her.
have gods that aren't our gods.
Yeah, like maybe when she was writing this, she wrote like for the love of God and for God's sake all the time, and then someone was like, "You need to make up a god in there. It's gonna sound too like
Well, she should
contemporary."
She should just do the fantasy classic of saying gods plural.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that would
And then you don't have
gotten
to
through.
do anything.
For goddesses' sake.
Yeah, exactly.
Who are these gods? Unknown.
Who cares? Then the Sorrengails take a family vacation to visit the Viscount, and who's waiting for them? Xaden. Cliffhanger again. Turn the page.
Yeah, they thought they were being so sneaky,
They
right?
they did.
And he was like, ha ha.
He's standing at the door, arms crossed like an angry dad.
Also, his like ex is there, right? Cat.
Oh, don't you worry, we're gonna get there. So Xaden and the Sorrengails are forced to have a fancy dinner with the Viscount and his niece Kat.
So this is the wear fancy dress and describe it in detail part of this book that is part of pretty much every
Every book.
fantasy book that I've read.
Yeah, this is like her glasses come off and like, oh my god, she's beautiful. Yeah.
This is like Cinderella puts on her ball gown.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of.
Yeah.
We could just keep listing off different times this happens in
Beauty
stories.
and the Beast.
Yellow dress. Literally Cinderella with the
Cinderella with
fairy
the
godmother.
glitter,
Oh my god, Ariel when she gets her legs and vagina.
And again, when she has that sparkling, it's like
Oh my
slit-
god,
slit of
yes.
the thigh
That dress is gorgeous.
It is, yeah, but also not appropriate for a 16-year-old.
No, true. I forgot that. Isn't she like 14 actually?
Probably in the original story, but she's
I mean, in
16
the
in
original
Disney.
story, she also commits suicide.
Yeah, I
does.
did know that.
She
Doesn't she turn into
100%.
foam?
She does,
Yes.
yes.
All right. All right, back to this, I guess.
No one turns into foam in this story, at least not yet.
No, I'd say that'd be more interesting.
See if we can cross our fingers there.
So Xaden and Violet get into another we don't know how to communicate fight, and like I thought we were over this miscommunication trope, but Vi at least like calls him out for acting like Dane, and I like cackled at that point. It was
how
like
dare.
so vindicating.
No, how dare you? How dare you call Dane into this, my precious Dane?
I know. Leave him alone. Kat gives off super pick me girl energy, and I'm not here for it. Like it would have been so refreshing if she was cool and nice, but instead she has to be the evil ex. And she's so basic with her insults. Like, Xaden loves color, but like, oh, I see you wear black. Gross. And Xaden was like never protective of me because I'm strong, unlike you. And oh, I see you left your hair down. How boring.
And I kind of was like, liking color, this whole liking color thing is a flagrant lie.
No, he wears black all the time.
Of course. This man is like has
his-
an aversion to color.
Yeah, his powers are literally shadows.
Yeah.
He's got to like black. It's mandatory.
Yeah.
So Xaden and Violet then make out again in front of everyone. Like they walk into the dinner, and I mean, he throws up like a wall of shadows or whatever. But then behind that wall, they're making out.
Yeah, everybody knows they're touching.
Yeah.
And he says he does this to break Violet out of Kat's mind tricks because similar to dragon riders, griffin riders have mind tricks, which they're like signets but
Yes,
dumber.
It's the power of Xaden's tongue.
Yeah. We're moving on from that. So then Violet makes a deal that she won't leave until she strikes a chest with her signet, which is what the Viscount wants. And then right when she's about to get started, this chest that's like in the middle of this, I don't know, like arena. Yeah. It breaks open and a venom pops out. Another cliffhanger at the end of a chapter.
I have another question.
Yeah, please.
What does this dude want, the Count?
That's like literally what they want, and this annoyed me so much.
Yeah.
Because they were like, he's gonna use you, Violet, and I was like, in a
How?
sexual way,
Yeah.
like, no, he just wants you to like use your power, like show off, like fucking let her, like she should be showing off.
I know.
Just fuck in the bathroom, and then your power will appear.
I imagined him as just a like wealthy eccentric that's just like, ooh, you're going to open the chest and solve my riddle.
Yeah, that's like, I want him to have like a curly mustache and wear like
and like a top hat.
Yes. And like none of his clothes match. Like he's got like polka dots as a tie and like stripes as his pants, and they're all different colors and like lash.
That would be perfect.
It would be perfect,
I wish
except
that's how it was written.
I don't know what he looks like at all. I
No.
just know he's Kat's uncle, so maybe he's blonde.
He's probably blonde.
He should have a mustache for sure. So yeah, this venom pops out of nowhere. I mean, out of his chest, but like out of nowhere, basically. And Violet fights the venom with the help of her sister and her brother. And like, not to hate on brothers, but her brother does literally nothing. He's like, "You got this, girls. Like,
Well, he is a
you
healer.
can." That's yeah, sorry.
He doesn't have anything to do with this.
But then,
Why
like,
is
get
he
out
even
of the
there?
fight. I know. He's just like, family power. Like, it was stupid. So Violet does do this pretty cool thing. Like, girl should have thought of this before if she's supposed to be smart, where she throws a magic dagger below the venom, and then when she uses her, signet, the lightning comes down, and then it electrocutes the venom, and he dies.
Yeah, but the daggers go through the feet of the venom, which
Oh.
I'm like, that's going to be a hell of a thing to watch on television. When
Yeah,
this
that's
happens.
true.
Also, doesn't her dragon like mentally hear this happening and is
Yeah.
like, "I'm on my way," and then shows up when it's over?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's worthless.
Yes,
Men just letting her down.
I know. Typical.
The Viscount and the squad make a deal. The Griffin Riders will return with them to A-Town to trade for the Luminary.
Once again, I refuse to retain what a luminary
No,
is.
again, we talked about it like chapter, 1?
Yeah.
We defined it earlier.
We
on.
did. And then guess what? We're now talking about it chapter 42.
Something
Yeah.
about dragons and fire
Yeah.
and weapons.
Yeah,
and
I had
whatever.
forgotten what luminaries are supposed to be by this point.
It's literally that important, which is not at all. Okay, so the Griffin Flyers and the Dragon Rider cadets are all forced to complete a parapet symbolic hike to earn each other's respect or some shit. Violet Squad is paired with Cat Squad because, of course, Violet bonds with some of Cat's friends, and she learns how Griffins and Flyers bond. She doesn't seem that surprised that the rest of the continent seems to train and build their army without murdering most of them during school, because they bond by jumping off some, like
an
wall?
actual bridge.
Yeah.
And if they don't like catch a griffin on the way down, they just fall into the water and swim to shore and pick
Right.
another position.
Yeah, and she's like, wait, no one dies at your school? And all the Griffin Riders are like, girl, you need some help.
Yeah, they're like, honey, it's insane that your military does that to you. I assume this part was written in response to how many people said it was insane.
Did a
what
lot
the
of people
military
say
does.
that?
I mean, I certainly did.
I mean, I know we all did, but I don't
Yeah.
remember reading it anywhere.
I think we all thought that, but seeing how quickly this book was turned around, I really don't know if this is in reaction to anything.
No.
Straight up, I am not out there looking at other people's opinions on Fourth Way.
No, to be honest, the only time I do is when they like come up on TikTok, and so far it's just been like theories of what's going to happen in the second or the third book.
Six Wing.
Yeah, Sixth
Yeah,
Wing.
Sixth Wing.
So when they're almost at the top of this death hike, things start to go wrong. Riddick gets hit with arrows from a trap because it can't just be a normal hike. And then two flyers almost fall to their death. They're hanging, again, Lion King style. And then you turn the page to the new chapter, and one of the Griffin Flyers actually does fall. While they're taking a break to heal Riddick, a wyvern appears out of fucking nowhere to chomp the dead Flyer's griffin. Violet then saves the day by creating a lightning storm, and she kills the wyvern.
It was at this point when I was reading this book that I thought, oh God, I'm actually enjoying myself right now. Like, this is exciting. I think that this author actually does write action sequences pretty well.
Completely agree. Like, the action parts are, besides like the last bit of action at the end of the last book, during this book, all the action parts were like so clear to me. I was like, I know what's going on at every point. Like, I like the beats flow. I can picture it in my head. I'm engaged.
Yeah, I like the part where the wyvern comes out of nowhere and just sort of chomps the griffin. That was good. That was well done.
But again, we don't have any time to mourn because school's got to continue.
Of course. Oh, goddamn.
Yep, school's got to go on. So the Riders and Flyers learn the lost art of runes. Chapter 45, new thing we're going to learn about
I thought
runes.
this was about ward stones. Like,
Nope.
I thought originally this was about weapons, and it became about wards, and now it's about runes.
No, it was originally about the Luminary. And then it was about weapons because the Luminary weapons are like kind of together because you need the Luminary to make weapons.
Yes.
And then actually they're not about neither of those things. They're about ward stones.
And
But,
there's
like-
also a book that's important.
Yeah, there's a book that's important, another book that's important. And then we're going to pause on the wardstone thing for a while because we have to talk about runes, which I thought was like really interesting. And then,
Yeah, I didn't.
oh,
You are alone in your interest.
oh okay.
Sorry.
No, that's
knew,
okay.
I knew from previous experiences we're gonna be bullshit.
I mean, that's basically what I was going to say while I was waiting for one of you to agree with me. I was like, I thought this could be cool and it was going to go somewhere cool and we were going to like, kind of learn how some of them work. And then she literally glossed over it and was like, some of these people are good at it and some of them are bad at it. And Violet's bad. And then that was it. We moved on. Oh, and like also in Darna, in case you forgot she was a part of this, she's still in her angsty young teen phase, and it's really annoying to me. Xaden explains to Violet that the rebellion relics are actually complicated runes, so we do get a purpose for them a little bit. And these runes can counter the signet of the rider whose dragon killed their parents. So like all the rebel kids have these rebellion relics because Sawyer's mom put runes on them, and when Melagrin or whatever his name killed all of their parents, they got protected from Melagrin. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, this might as well happen.
I mean,
I know. I'm like, okay, cool.
this is all basically a complicated way of saying that that's why Melagrin can't see them. All that, just for that. So school continues again. And challenges are now allowed. So this is the fights that can happen within like the squads or within like the other squads. They used to be blocked from riders and flyers. And now they're like, you know what? You guys have a lot of like pent up stress. So we're going to let you guys fight each other. But no killing. And the flyers are like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then the dragon riders are like, are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry, but whose reactions are we supposed to think are normal here?
I mean, let's be real. Are there going to be consequences if they kill each other? Because thus far there have not been.
No, that's very true.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen. They have these like, well, they had that one like court martial.
Yeah, technically that was a fight of like 6 people on one, so.
Yeah, I guess
That's
that
true.
was technically over
Yeah, from the first
kill.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, of course, Kat challenges Violet, and it's like fighting herself because Xaden trained both of them. So Kat fucks with Violet's head with her gift, which is like heightening people's emotions. But Kat explains that she only wants Xaden because they were previously promised to each other in a political alliance where she would have been queen. And then before anything bad happens, the girls get pulled off each other.
There is something about the we both fight like Xaden thing that I found so like sexually weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ooh, would we fuck each other like Xaden too? Like, that's the undertone.
Honestly, I thought that as well. So Xaden brings Violet to the assembly room after this fight when he pulls him or her off of Kat and goes down on her on the throne.
Yeah, and okay, now we have to note the oft quoted quote: "My room, my chair, my woman." Unquote.
I didn't think it was hot at all. I was like, this is stupid.
I read this book before Maura and was trying to give her updates without spoilers, and at one point I just put my head in my hands and said with profound weariness, he eats her out on the throne.
Yeah, and I was just like, excuse me?
Also, and this is pretty much a through line in these books, is I simply cannot believe that a 21, 22-year-old man is that good at sex.
No.
It's impossible.
It's
I'm sorry.
not possible.
Also, I don't know if anybody else got distracted by this, but do you feel like you'd get cold in this situation?
Yes,
Like,
I think about that all the time.
Big?
Yes.
That'd be Kate. They have this
And like you
cavernous
take your
throne room.
pants
Yeah.
off.
Yeah, I
and
know.
It seems uncomfortable.
You'd be
It's
freezing.
kind of uncomfortable. This is a wooden throne,
Yeah.
right? They're in a cavernous room that I assume is made out of stone. And this is a whole society that doesn't have indoor heating. So I'm
Maybe they've got lights that work from magic. Like
Yeah,
maybe
like-
they do have indoor
maybe
heating.
they do. They just don't,
Maybe
but they haven't
maybe
mentioned
they have
it.
an HVAC guy, and that's all his small magic is. He pushes heated air and cooled air
I
into
just can't
rooms.
stop myself from thinking this has got to be so uncomfortable.
No,
I'm sorry.
I think that all the time. Every time they have sex in anytime in any book they have sex in a weird location, I'm like, what's the temperature like? Or like when people have sex outside. I had this friend in high school. Oh my god! And she came back. It was like Monday, and we were talking about stuff, and she was like, "Yeah, me and my boyfriend went on a hike, and we had sex outside." I'm like, "Girl, it's the middle of fall, and you were in like the national park. Like,
Yeah.
leaves must have been everywhere. Like,
So, yeah, I have heard stories about people having sex on like the Appalachian Trail and stuff. And
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you?
Somebody's getting an infection.
yes." Or like, do you
Yeah.
put a coat down? Like, do you bring a picnic blanket for this?
I would hope so, but probably
It didn't
not.
sound pre-planned.
So.
So anyways, there's no way
yeah.
he's that good at sex, and she's definitely cold. Oh, also, I can't believe I didn't even mention this. He eats her out, and he makes a point that like he's not gonna get off. Towards the end, after she orgasms, she's like, "Oh, let me get you off, sir," and he's like, "No, this was for you, baby. I'm proving that I love you." Like,
Yeah.
it's just this book, it was just fucked up. Their whole
Yeah.
opinions and like how they treat sex, it was weird. And I mean, I know they're like 19 and 20, but
Can
It's
I
just
talk about her
juvenile.
orgasm for
No,
a second?
yeah, please,
Yeah, okay,
please.
so she starts, okay, he goes down on her on the throne. And again, it's a wooden throne.
Yeah, and she's freezing.
She's got to be freezing. I would be freezing. I would be like, why am I in this situation? Okay, but anyway, so she orgasms. And then it keeps going. And then suddenly there's like another orgasm on top of the orgasm she's having. And everybody's like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is going on for so long. And I couldn't help myself. I started thinking about pigs.
I was just, yeah.
I'm like, pigs have orgasms for quite a long time. And I'm like, how long is this going to go? Because it feels like this is going on for a while.
Just maybe it was small magic
Yeah.
that made it continue.
It was the small magic of,
Also,
a little death.
Yeah. Also, they talk. This is another thing I think about all the time when people are talking about having sex in public places. People heard them. Like,
of course they did.
And then
Yeah,
on
of
top of
course
that,
they
the
did.
lightning thing we did.
He had to kick people out of the room.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They were in the middle of a meeting.
were.
Can you imagine, like, a middle of a board meeting, the CEO's son just comes in. He's like, excuse me, I need this room. And then you're in the hall, and you're all like, what the fuck just happened? Like, we just got kicked out. And then you just hear a girl screaming, and you're like, what?
Orgasming for over 20 minutes.
Yeah. Like, wow. Maybe he is that good.
I find the whole I won't orgasm to show that I care about you thing to be super weird because it implies this sort of not getting pleasure out of doing things for your partner. Like, it reflects the idea of sex being transactional.
Yeah.
Like, he might as well have said, sure, I lie a lot, but I just went down on you and didn't make you give me a handy in response, so that proves I love you.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, from the start of this book, it's transactional. Like, unless you tell me the secrets, I won't have sex with you. Unless you tell me you love me, I won't have sex with you. It's just, I don't like it. All right, moving on. So again, they've orgasmed. Well, really, only Violet's orgasmed for a really long time. And they finally talk about shit. And Xaden says, I would have told you if you would have just asked the right questions. And I literally put my book down to yell because, like, how the fuck does she even know what to ask? Like, how does she know that you're previously engaged? She didn't even know you were, like, a king. You literally just told her about the throne. Like, how would she have known half this shit? She doesn't... That's not how healthy communication works.
This isn't how any communication works. You have to tell people your past. They can't just sit there and guess, like, oh, have you been previously engaged? That's not a question people ask.
No. So then during this conversation, even when he's, like, trying to answer her questions, it's really frustrating. Like, how would you like it if my past lover said he was my first and going to be my last? Like, Kat wasn't even close to my first, was his response to that. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, a humble brag? Like, congrats, bro. Like, I'm glad you
Your
got
mom
some.
was my first.
Because
Literally.
he's just so alpha.
It's
and
gross.
He's had sex so much. He's like a sex god.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why
At
answers your
21.
question. Yeah, he just
At 21 years
fucked
of age.
everyone. Yeah. That was weird. So then at the end of this stupid fight, he says the line that everyone loves, maybe more so than my woman, my throne, whatever, which is, you and I are endgame. And this is, I can't with this took me out. The modern dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't.
I know that this is just me personally, but if someone told me that we were endgame, I would immediately take it as a threat. Like, are you going to kill me and then yourself? Is that what you are saying right now?
It sounds a little Romeo and Juliet. Then the fight continues because it's not over. And he keeps giving her non-answers about how he's actually not a king, but technically he's like a duke because some other guy has it. And, like, we're just going to gloss over that, even though, correct me if I'm wrong, but a duke is, like, second in line after a prince, so he is really still royalty.
I don't know.
Okay,
Line of
cool. That's
succession.
just
Sorry,
something
that's
that,
not
okay.
me.
No, that's fine. But none of this matters, and everything's all good because he loves her now and he ate her out, which he never did to Kat. So Violet obviously is his one true love.
I am genuinely pissed off for Kat here. I'm like, why was he withholding on her? I mean, it's not like Violet existed and he knew about her at the time he was with Kat. Like, did they have sex? They must have. But I, like, this is just, like, what an asshole.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm pretty sure they had sex because I think she mentions it when they fight on the mat.
No, they do. Yeah. I think it's later when they fight again, maybe. She's like, did you like it when he does a little thing with his finger? And then she's like, did you like it when he did that thing with his tongue? And she's like, it was weird. Yeah, I didn't like it.
Yeah, no.
Nope.
I mean, now that I know that he didn't go down on Kat, I'm just like, I hate everyone here. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, he lies about other stuff. So
Yeah, he
might
probably
get
lied about that too. So Violet and Kat's squad are forced to merge together, and everyone's super thrilled about it. Heavy sarcasm. Dane helps Violet translate some books and apologizes while he helps. And I'm Team Dane now. He's really good in this book.
Yeah, love Dane, yay Dane, being helpful. Like, 100% Dane.
He notices mistakes. He apologizes.
Yeah.
Real talk, because Dayan is turning his character around, I don't think he's going to survive to the end of the series.
I really don't like that.
Yeah,
That
think
makes
you're
me
probably
sad.
Right. Yeah, I think eventually one of them seriously is going to die, like a main character, not like a side character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple girlies on Book Talk were talking about how because Violet and Xaden like got together so early that maybe one of them, Xaden, isn't gonna make it.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, sure.
That would be like a crazy twist.
I would be
Like
totally
if he actually
fine.
dies and then comes out on top, like I'd be down. So Violet gains a little more control of her signet. She has like some weird like yo-yo that she uses. And then another city was attacked by venom closer to A-Town. Violet then figures out how to set the wards. Those are
Sure.
2 different chapters, yeah.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Violet calls the whole squad, riders and the flyers, in to talk about the consequences of setting the wards. Because if they set the wards, the flyers, the Griffin Flyers, will lose the ability to use their magic. So she gives them the choice to stay and be protected or to leave and be able to use their magic. And we don't hear their answer because instead of leaving right away, everyone goes to training class.
Yeah, still going to class.
Yeah.
My God.
School's really important because if you get detention, you die.
This is insane. Like, right when we're starting to get some, like, like, it's starting to roll. Okay, we get some plot here. No,
Nope.
we must go to training
We have to go to class.
Oh, we got to go to math.
Yeah, so during their class, they basically have a hide and seek training exercise. And part of the squad goes into a cave to find a box. They're using these lure boxes from the first part of the book again. And when they do find it, they also find Varish's dragon, Solus or Solas. Who cares?
Solus.
Solus, okay. Who's out for blood. He's pissed that Varish is dead. Violet, Sloane, and Kat make it out of the cave after blinding the dragon, and Andarna kills him. Way to go, Andarna. Taryn then ominously calls her Slayer. Xaden yells at Violet for saving Kat, and then he finally brings up the deal that he made with her mom. And now we're in chapter 55.
Oh,
And
God.
unlike chapter 55 in Akamath, this chapter gave me fucking hives reading it. I had to pause to yell so much during this chapter. So Xaden starts this conversation with, if you would have just asked, I would have told you. And we already went over this manipulative bullshit. Like, what in the girl boss gaslight gatekeep is this conversation? So, quote, Violet says, how the hell am I in love with you when I feel like I barely know you sometimes? Xaden, quote, because I let you live long enough for us to fall in love. Without that deal, gods know what I would have done in my need for revenge. Stop being scared of the answers or waiting for me to give them to you. Demand the truth. I need you to love all of me, not just what you need to see. Boy, you're only telling her and showing her what you want? Like, how is this on her? How's she supposed to know
On
what she
top of
doesn't
that-
know?
Okay, hold on. Pause. She was demanding the truth at the beginning
Yes.
of this book. So how dare you turn it around on her here at the end of the book and say, hey, you should have been demanding the truth from me. Like,
Yeah.
dude,
You should have been asking me questions.
were you in the conversations you were having at the beginning?
No, he was thinking about her
Also,
fat pussy.
I do not for the 1 second believe this shit. Like, he never once looked like he was struggling with his feelings in Fourth Wing, and I'm going to say something maybe controversial
Do
here,
it.
but this reveal that Mom is behind is not killing Violet out of revenge totally ruins the enemy's lover thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's supposed to not kill her because he's too enamored with her to do that, and here the story just totally undercuts the romance yet again.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
Also, the fact that she didn't ask him about the death of his family, the colonization of his home, and the physical scars on his body might just be tact on her part. Like, the relationship is still pretty new. And if you knew that your partner went through some pretty traumatic shit, you might want to wait until they broach it first before you're like, hey, what's up with your dead fam?
Hey, second date. Who else have you fucked?
yeah.
Yeah.
Or it's not like, oh, let me explain all your scars to me.
Yeah.
All of those scars that probably have, like, some PTSD behind them, tell me them.
Yeah, I know
Tell
your
me
past is
everything.
traumatic because you watched your dad get burnt alive.
Uh-huh.
But tell me.
And also, it was my mom that did that.
Yeah.
But tell me your feelings about it.
Yeah.
I completely agree, Maura. I do. Like, it just, there's
Yeah.
no true enemies to lovers now because
No, it's all it's
they weren't
ruined.
really enemies.
It's 100% ruined for me. Like, the relationship is dead. There's no relationship here for me to, like, even be interested in anymore, because it's just like, what's the point of any of this?
No, and Xaden just continues to go down my book because at some point during this fight, he uses this like really stupid metaphor that I just have to talk about because I thought it was dumb as fucking hell. So he talks about closets and knives, and he's like, in the closet that we share, there's my clothes in there, but like maybe there's also a knife, and you should have known that there was a knife in there. You should have asked what I was going to do with that knife. Like, what the fuck? And then during this conversation, he's like, he then uses his like shadow magic to bring the knife out and like put it to her neck to prove that he can't trust her with the truth unless she knows to ask about this knife.
Sexy.
So, yeah, so sexy. Wow. And then somehow Violet gains his respect again by asking if he has a second signet, which they alluded to like once earlier in the book, that someone's like grandma had a dragon, and that like if you have two dragons and the same dragon in your family, like your grandma has it and then you bond with it later, it like either makes you crazy or it gives you a second signet. So now out of nowhere she's like, do you have a second signet? And he's like, I respect you for asking me that. Mm-hmm. But also he doesn't want to answer it.
Of course not. Of
Nope.
course not.
And before,
remember though, she has to ask all
Yep.
questions. Otherwise, how will she know?
and now that she's finally asked the question, he doesn't even want to answer it. And before he even can open his mouth to try, they get interrupted. How convenient. How convenient. Mm-hmm. So they set the wardstone because they get interrupted because Venom and Wyvern are coming. So they set this wardstone and then they all fly off to fight the Wyvern at the edge of the wardstone wards. Now that it's just Xaden and Violet, he's finally going to tell her about the second signet while they're waiting for these Wyvern to come in. And he says he is an
intrinsic.
Thank you. Intrinsic. Which is basically, you know, people who can read minds. But instead of actually reading people's thoughts, he reads their intentions somehow. So Violet then starts questioning every part of her relationship, and I feel rightfully so. And instead of trying to make her believe that he would never actually, you know, read her mind to further this relationship, he just whines that she fell out of love with him after knowing this. But don't worry, because she still loves him. And then the Wyvern show up.
These people are so goddamn annoying.
I feel like this would be akin to finding out your partner has been reading your texts about him.
Yeah.
Like, maybe not a deal breaker for some people, but still concerning. And then if you express distrust after this, his response being, and now you don't love me, is super fucked up.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like, private things are private, and you're just going to go peeping your nose there, and then you feel you explain you feel violated, and they're just like, no, you don't love me now that you don't implicitly trust me. Like, that's crazy shit. Mm-hmm. The relationship was honestly stressing me out. Like, and I just compared everything to Twilight, and so like at least in Edward and Bella, because Edward could read everyone's thoughts, like he couldn't read Bella's thoughts. Like that was her special little specialness. Mm-hmm. So like she had some sort of agency, but Violet now basically has none, and he doesn't care. He says whatever. So the Wyvern, who've now shown up, they can't make it past the wards. So Xaden and Violet turn around and they get called to assembly. And then during this meeting, they realize that the wards don't work correctly. So Xaden, Violet, and Mira get summoned to meet General Sorengale and Meligrin, or whatever his name is. While waiting, Xaden confesses that he didn't intentionally use his mind reading abilities to start or grow his relationship with Violet, but she was like obviously so thirsty for him, so he couldn't help it when he used it the one time to decide if he was going to kiss her. Whoops.
Like, I don't know. I'm of two minds here. Like, obviously reading people's intentions mentally is a weird invasion to a degree, but also intentions can be picked up just as well through body language. So it's like, why do we even care here? Like, if someone just walks up to me and is like, we have a relationship for a while, and it's just like, you can kind of gauge, right? Like, if someone's interested. So I don't know. I am not super compelled by what's happening here.
I also think that the concept of reading intentions is deliberately vague. Like, what does that even mean? Did he read the intention that Violet wanted to kiss him, that she was going to kiss him? I don't know how his power interpreted that.
Yeah, like I interpret it as he basically, like, I see it more as like future telling somehow. Like, he can read the choice you're going to take before you actually consciously make that choice, if you will. But that's not how she described
that's
it.
Just telling the future.
No, I know, but yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't read it as like he's just really good at reading body language. Like, that's how I feel like it seems here.
Like, it's not well like drawn out. Basically.
Well, is anything?
No, but you know.
Yeah.
Here we are.
So here we are. And also here we are in the book. Meligrin has shown up, and he tells the rebels that Venom are actually going to attack Navarre during the solstice, which is an important event in this book for some reason. And they'll lose to the wyvern and the venom without the rebels' help. So Brennan appears and he says, go fuck yourself. And Mama Sorrengail is obviously surprised to see that her son's alive. But we don't have any time to care about that because she gives Violet the journal that she was tortured for and tells her to fix the wards and that the venom that died at their border aren't actually dead. So, like any healthy relationship would do, Xaden and Violet decide to continue their fight because it's still not over. It's still the same fight they're still having. And Violet has had a week to think everything over and says, I'm glad, Xaden, that you just now agreed to not keep secrets. But also, I should have been asking the right questions, but I was too afraid of the answers. Like, girl, what the fuck? No. Like,
Another big sigh.
Truly, there just needs to be like a compilation of all my sighs for this whole thing because it's so stupid. Ugh. But then she continues and says that he needs to stop being fucking crazy and expecting her to know what questions to ask because he's the mind reader and not her. And Xaden finally is like, yeah, you know what? You're right. And I'm never going to use my signet on Violet. And now we're better. And I don't forgive Xaden at all. Like,
I don't think you should.
No, and she shouldn't either.
Well,
now,
here's the thing. I don't blame him for keeping secrets. I do blame him for being such a shitbag about the keeping secrets and like gaslighting her about it.
Yes, he truly did. Yeah, like I get it. Like we saw in the first book that guy get killed for reading thoughts. So we're now in battle brief for some reason, and Violet realizes that Melgren was lying and that the Venom aren't attacking Navarre but are preparing to attack Basgiath. And like I reread this part like 5 times and I didn't understand how she figured this out. Like she just realized that if they attack the border, they're actually then going to attack the ward because they need the wards to come down. It was vague.
Details, schmetails, I say.
Who cares?
Let's
like, move on. Yeah. So the squad and some others prep to go to Basgiath, even though the assembly said no, because they explained to the assembly what is actually going along, and they became adults for once and said, no, you're grounded. General Sorrengail greets them at school and reluctantly lets them inspect the wards. They get to the wards and find Crazy Jack and his dragon waiting for them. He then kills his dragon, and the flames on the wardstone go out when the dragon's blood spills on the stone. The murdered dragon falls and topples the whole wardstone. All of Navarre's wards are down. Bum, bum, bum.
So why did he wait for them to do this? Like, he was just down there chilling with this dragon, and he's like, oh, you're here, and then kills it. Is it just for the drama?
He needed an audience.
Yes, the drama. And he's not nice after all.
Yeah, so much for Born Again Christian Jack. So Crazy Jack is actually Zombie Jack, who's been a venom since Nolan healed him.
Yeah,
who knew? So the squad makes him drink the bond blocker, and they knock Zombie Jack out because we don't kill this idiot for some fucking reason.
We can't kill him because we need him to stir up shit. And also, we won't have the dramatic reveal we need at the end.
Yeah, like the reveal at the end couldn't have just been, we needed him to say his dumb line.
I like how we're getting like...
I'm just so mad at this point.
Becoming more and more like angry as we go.
After chapter 55, as I was reading it, I was like, I didn't even want to finish it, but I had to because I was taking notes for this stupid book.
Like the tension in this room right now is like, I think one of us is going to just like take something and throw it at the wall.
And
well, because it's me. So fucking long, and like nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. You know what's happened? 20 minutes worth of action.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
There's so many parts that could have been cut. Like, I'll be your editor, girl. I've never done it before, but I will do it.
Like, listen, if we have listeners actually here right now with us, like,
I'm sorry if you like this.
Like, I'm sorry if you like this, but I'm also proud of you for having gotten this far with us.
Truly. Fourth Wing was fun. I didn't think it was like super well written, but I thought it was fun. And this book was not fun for me, if you can't tell. Like squeezing my eyes shut. I don't even know how to read the rest of them.
Chapter 61.
Chapter 61. We're almost done. I can make it through this. Okay, so nope, we're still in chapter 60. No. Sorry. The squad and all the people who stayed at Basgiath go to battle brief because they need to know what happened. So they're all like, hold up, battle brief. We have to figure out what's going on. And they get told about the 1,000 wyvern that are on their way here. And they all the wyvern are following these lure boxes that Jack planted. Now we're at chapter 61.
Thank God.
So the battle starts. Violet, Taryn, Xaden, and the rest of Squad 2, because I got it wrong and there's Squad 2, not Squad 4, are protecting the wardstone while Brennan attempts to mend it below because he's not actually a healer, he's a mender.
He can heal many things.
Sure.
He can heal anything, inanimate objects, everything.
Potato.
So So Violet lands hit after hit somehow, and she is literally heating up. The battle is crazy, with Dragon and Wyvern all over the place, and at one point Rhiannon jumps onto Taryn to try to save Violet from a venom that has also jumped onto Taryn's back. Violet then ends up saving Rye by shooting the venom with an exploding arrow from her griffin friends. Violet dives off Taryn to save Sawyer and his dragon. When she finally gets him to the ground, Taryn flies off to then go save Scale. While on the ground, a venom gives away the plan, because you have to have an evil villain tell everyone the plan. And the plan is that they are all tasked with capturing Violet for the Sage, who's like the head venom. Gasp, her really specific nightmare about the Sage weren't actually nightmares at all. Who knew? Violet then kills the venom with lightning, but the other one is still there.
So I actually like this chapter. It was actiony. That's fine. That's good.
I agree.
I know.
Yeah.
I agree. Did you hear how calmly I read that?
You did. Yeah. You were like, I can do this. Everything's good.
I enjoyed it. Then Andarna comes out of seemingly nowhere and burns the other venom to the crisp, because apparently she has chameleon powers now.
What can't Andarna do?
She does everything.
Fly, apparently.
That's true. Very true. Xaden and Violet get called to the Vale to talk to Melgren. On the way there, Justinia pulls Violet to the side to tell her she thinks she's translated how to set the wardstone, but she thinks it's wrong, because the translation says you need 7 dragons, but there are only 6 types. It clicks into place for Violet, and she convinces her mom to let her see the wardstone before they fight the next wave of baddies. Violet then runs down to the wardstone and calls Andarna down too. She asks Andarna if she is the special of the dragons, and Andarna says that she's been waiting 600 years for Violet to hatch. And I literally laughed out loud, because it felt like such a just weird pro-life line to put in there.
Okay.
Let me explain.
Say more. Okay. Explain yourself.
You know how people say that they're they're like a baby from conception? Like they're alive, they have a soul from conception.
Sure.
This feels the same thing, because you're in the egg, the dragon egg, and she basically said that she was listening and waiting and feeling for someone of Violet's power to be alive so she can bond with her. And she hatched because Violet was there. She made the conscious choice. Do you see what I'm saying?
No,
how they feel similar?
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that. Yeah.
I have to say, I personally did not get that from it, but you are Catholic, so you know more than I do.
I know. It's just
okay, wait. I was just I'm not Catholic. I was just raised Catholic.
I'm deferring to Emma and her Catholicness.
Yeah. You know how they talk.
Yeah. I'm going to go pray after this. So anyways, Violet, so they figure out that Andarna's is special. They get 6 other dragons to come, and then Violet for some reason has to infuse her power into the stone. And after she's been killing people left, right, center with her lightning, she then almost burns herself out trying to imbue the stone. Her mom literally kicks her off the stone to save her. And then her mom uses Sloane to siphon all of her power into the stone, and Andarna finally sets it on fire. The wards are set.
I'm gonna lose my fucking mind. This book is never gonna end.
I
No,
know.
it's not.
Okay.
We're almost there, but no, it's not gonna end.
I have even more questions. If the words are so important, why does it take so much effort and weird knowledge from the past to set them? It feels to be this.
And
is
secret
something-
knowledge.
Yeah, secret knowledge. It seems like something you would want to know, just in case something happens to the wards. I don't know, a crazy person just happens to douse the flame that makes them work.
Honestly, at this point, I think we have put more effort into trying to figure out how this world works than the author of this book.
I thought this too, because they literally have a whole group of people, the scribes, right? Your bestest librarian. I'm sorry. Tabitha just looks so upset. Okay. She's Emma's going to go on another tangent. They have their bestest librarians, the most professional of all librarians, keeping this knowledge safe, and they do a shit job.
Of course.
I guess they're more historians than really librarians.
Yeah, I think lots of people don't know what librarians do, so it's
I'm one of them, apparently.
Yeah. No, I think
they're
the author
a
doesn't
librarian / archivist.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There's a lot of missing knowledge in that library. And maybe that's not their fault. Maybe the people from 300 years ago didn't do it. But anyway, so the wards are set. We have 2 chapters left, so we can do this. Violet sees that all of her squad is safe and alive somehow. And while she makes her way to Xaden, who has killed the sage, he refuses to look at her. And when he finally does, she sees that his irises are rimmed in red.
Which means that he's
a venom
now,
yeah.
not just that he's stoned.
Yeah. Honestly, if they had weed in this, that would be funny as hell. So, just like in Fourth Wing, we get a Xaden POV, and this starts back up during his battle with the Sage. He's also about to burn out and realizes that the Sage has just been fucking with him. He tries to use the rest of his power to stop the Sage and ends up burning out and then becoming a Venom somehow. Like, a whole part of this chapter is just like cut in between that and that on purpose, because we can't explain it in one chapter, even though we explain everything else in one chapter. So you gotta wait till the next book. So then he wakes up in the same bed as Violet and goes to Zombie Jack's cell to ask what the cure is. Jack says he's incurable. And welcome to the family, brother. Like, that's exactly how I read the line. Just like the most hillbilly shit ever.
Yeah. So my hot take here is that I am super ready for this series to become a monster romance.
I mean, do you think, like, besides just becoming, like, old and decrepit, because that's how I picture the Venom, that he gets any, like, I don't know, rich dicks or something?
I hope so. That would be fun for
Or, like,
I don't
wings.
think so. I think that
Wings
would
that are
be-
weirdly erotic.
I think that would be like a step too far for the people that are fans of this book.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Damn, Tabitha, way to be, like, a realist. And then that's the fucking end.
Yay,
Yeah.
we made it to the end.
And there's, like, I'm not even gonna get into these because I think they're all stupid, but there's a ton of TikTok theories because they all think, because Violet has 2 dragons, so she has to have 2 signets too, and, like, some are about, like, how she can talk to the dead and she can, like, talk to gods, even though, like, there are no gods here. And then someone else, which I thought was interesting, and maybe the best one out there. So another said that her signet was maybe super speed, like, kind of like winnowing from the Akatar series, because when they're trying to get out of the poisoned library, this, like, last wall is about to fall, and in it, Violet says that Xaden and Aaron are not going to make it. And then they magically make it even though the door has been closed. And when I was reading this, I read that as, like, kind of an Indiana Jones type moment rather than like, oh, maybe she has a second power. But Rebecca Yarros has said in multiple interviews that if you look hard enough, her signet is obvious.
I think it's that she can talk to the dead.
Are you out here listening to Rebecca Yarros interviews?
No, I just keep getting all these TikToks where people stitch and they go on these long explanations, and I watch them all at 2 times speed because they, like, quote stuff. They have, like, highlights in their book. I don't think it's that serious, really.
Well, it's not serious.
No, I mean, none of it's serious.
None of it's serious.
No.
Let's just put that out there. But, like,
No,
Okay,
we're just
so
all here to
Emma-
have a good time.
Emma, overall, how did you feel about this?
What do you think I felt about this? So the action was good, and it distracted me from my least favorite trope, if you can't tell, which is miscommunication, which I thought this whole book should have been. I also, as I said earlier, think that this book could have been 2, like, pretty good separate books if it was, like, actually edited and, like, laid out better. Maybe, I don't know, have Violet and Xaden break up in the second book, which usually happens in most books, and then we get that tension back of, like, will they, won't they type thing. And he should be, like, a true simp for that girl. He should be groveling to get back in her good graces. Like, I love me a good simp. And then the throne line would have been way better. Instead, it was, like, muddy and gross because I was pissed at his manipulative bullshit.
Yeah.
I will read Sixth Wing, but I won't be happy about it.
Yeah, I feel the same way with you. I honestly was bored and or confused by this book about 7/8 of the time. The action at the end was good. The relationship stuff made me want to throw them all from the parapet, to be frank. And yeah, I kind of felt like a lot of it was just muddy and confusing, and I was not here for most of it. I slogged through this book. I thought it was really boring. I'm sorry, y'all.
I thought the action was at least fun.
Yeah.
The romance was awful. All of the tension got released in the first book. Like Emma said, there wasn't even the classic temporary breakup that a lot of sequels have. It really felt like watching that one couple, you know, who when someone else asks if they're coming to the party together, you're like, oh, who the fuck even knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unknown.
Yeah. So,
Who are you? Emma?
who are you in this book? Me? I think I'm Riddick.
Okay.
Because nothing's ever serious, and I like to laugh.
I think I'm Andarna, moody and sleepy.
Yeah, that's super accurate for today.
Yeah, I am Taryn. I'm exhausted from the human drama and undoubtedly questioning all of my choices.
He was honestly, like, one of my favorite parts in this book
Yeah.
because he was just, like, exasperated the
He
whole
was.
time.
He was just like, why is this even happening?
I loved it. Well, thanks for
made it.
listening along with us, guys, and come back for the next episode.
Yeah, we'll like the next book, I promise.
Yeah, we will. We picked a good one. Bye.
Bye.